The person who's hardest to let go of isn't always the one you've loved the most. Sometimes it's the person who touched something within you that lies much deeper. That's why some relationships linger within us long after they are actually over. You may know it's over. You may understand why it didn't work out. You may even know that you'd probably end up in the same pattern again if you went back. And yet, something inside you remains connected. You think about that person, replay conversations in your head, and wonder what they are doing right now. And part of you doesn't understand why this person still has so much power over your feelings. Sometimes the answer isn't simply love. Sometimes you are not just attached to the person, but to what they triggered in you. An old wound, a need, a fear, to a part of yourself that you may have long forgotten. Or even to a version of yourself that seemed to exist only within that relationship. And this is exactly where astrology gets interesting, because certain connections between two birth charts can reveal why one person touches us so much more deeply than another. Not because astrology tells us that two people are automatically meant for each other, but because it can reveal where this emotional intensity comes from. Of course, in this video I can only explain a few possibilities, but it will certainly lead to a much better understanding. One of the first things we look at is Pluto. Pluto connections in relationships are rarely superficial. If one person's Pluto forms strong connections with the other person's personal planets, like the Moon or Venus or the Ascendant, the relationship can feel extremely intense. There can be a strong attraction right from the start. The feeling that this person sees right through you. Sometimes even the feeling that they are reaching a part of you that no one has ever been able to touch before. Pluto can bring passion, obsession, fear of loss, jealousy, control, sexual attraction, but also a very deep emotional transformation. A strong Venus-Pluto connection, for example, can create an enormous attraction. It can be almost impossible to remain emotionally neutral toward this person. A Moon-Pluto connection can go even deeper because the Moon represents our emotional world, for our instinctive reactions, for our vulnerability, and for our need for security. When Pluto strongly influences the Moon, a relationship can bring feelings to the surface that may have been hidden for a very long time. Sometimes even feelings we didn't even know existed within us. And that is exactly why the loss of such a relationship can be so painful. It may not just feel as though you are losing the other person. It can feel as though you are also losing access to a part of yourself. But here we need to make a very important distinction. Intensity is not the same as compatibility or duration. Some Pluto relationships come into our lives because they are meant to change us. And that's why the deeper question isn't just, why can't I let this person go? But rather, what has this person awakened in me? Another area we look at is the 8th house. The 8th house represents emotional fusion, trust, sexuality, vulnerability, power, fear, loss, and transformation. When another person's significant personal planets strongly activate your 8th house, a relationship can very quickly feel incredibly intimate. It might not simply feel like I like you, but rather like you are doing something to me. This person can trigger feelings in you that you might not even have known were there. Fear of being abandoned, jealousy, possessiveness, fear of losing control, but also deep trust and extraordinary intimacy. And when a relationship like this ends, the breakup can be especially difficult. Psychologically, the boundaries between I and we can eventually blur. It might feel as though you've left a part of yourself behind in this relationship. And now you have to find that part again. That's why some breakups don't just feel like the loss of another person, but like the loss of your own identity. And the deeper process then isn't just about letting go of the other person. It's also about returning to yourself. Now imagine several of these astrological signatures appearing simultaneously in the same relationship. Suddenly, you have a connection that feels magnetic, familiar, emotionally extremely intense, hard to understand, and almost impossible to forget. And this is exactly where astrology must be used very consciously. Because strong synastry doesn't automatically mean you should be together or this is your soulmate. And it certainly doesn't mean you have to wait for this person. Astrology can help us understand why this person has such a powerful effect on us. And once we understand that, we can start asking better questions. What did this relationship bring out in me? What pattern did it reveal? What am I actually afraid of if I lose this person? What did I believe this person would give me? What part of myself came to the surface in this relationship? And what part of myself should I now reclaim? Because letting go doesn't always mean forgetting someone. And it doesn't mean pretending the relationship meant nothing either. Sometimes letting go begins precisely when we finally understand why this relationship meant so much. Perhaps this person triggered an old fear of being abandoned. Perhaps they embodied a sense of security for you. Perhaps through them, you felt truly seen for the first time in years, desired, needed, and alive. Or maybe this relationship showed you very clearly in what ways you are willing to give up on yourself just so another person will stay. And as soon as you recognize that, the meaning of the relationship begins to change. The focus slowly shifts from how do I get this person back to what should I learn from this experience? And that's a completely different question. Often it's precisely this question that allows us to truly move on. Sometimes the strongest connections aren't the ones that last forever. They are the ones that change us forever. And maybe you are not still thinking about this person because the relationship needs to continue. Maybe there's simply still something inside you that wants to be understood. Something that this relationship brought to the surface. Something it forced you to see. Something about your needs, your fears, your boundaries, your attachment patterns, or about the relationship you have with yourself. And once you understand what this connection truly brought out in you, letting go will start to feel different too. Because letting go doesn't mean the relationship was meaningless or that the love wasn't real. And it doesn't mean you have to erase this person from your memory. It means you no longer have to continue the relationship in order to hold on to what you've learned through it. And sometimes that was exactly the real purpose of this connection.